So let's see if we can get this technically where we want it to be. Are you guys seeing a nice presenting PowerPoint slide?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try switching to here. Are you still seeing a nice PowerPoint slide? You're not seeing my little other screen, right? Looks good, Drew?
It looks good.
Okay. So thank you so much, Drew. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks to you, Neumann Kaffeegruppe, Atlas, the folks who have invested in making this opportunity available. It's really a pleasure to be able to speak to people across the globe, and having this invitation is a great honor. So today, there'll be a bit of introductions. We've already started. I'll try to give, in order to understand importance of efficiency in coffee production, I'll share what I can in this short time about lean at origin, since this is a program that I've delivered in a few places. And after the overview of core concepts, I'll give you examples from the Copacabana Cooperative in Rwanda. And here's a quick map for those who are trying to remember where Rwanda is. It's in East Africa. Neighbors are Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Congo. It's really in the center of Southern Africa. They use the ports of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam for coffee. So after our examples from Rwanda, I'll share a bit about the outcomes and impacts that we already know about lean and what kind of efficiencies can be gained. And of course, at the end, we'll have questions and comments. As Drew said, feel free to type your questions and comments as we go along. He and Jeff will be collating those and summarizing them for us at the end, or interrupting me in the middle if there are good comments to add to our discussion here. I'm very happy to take questions and keep this interactive. So a bit more about me. I started my company, Artisan Coffee Imports, in 2009. I had a very strong desire to figure out how to pay farmers more. But in order to do that, I had to understand how our farmers paid. And some of what I did after I started my company helped me learn that. But it's important to kind of take a glimpse at what I did before, which is 16 years of working in global manufacturing. And that's where I started to see how important a theory, an operations theory like lean, L-E-A-N, can be. And then after I started my company, I had the opportunity to go live in Rwanda for a year. That was with the USAID project that was taking place in Rwanda and Burundi. And I was able to start implementing my Lean at Origin program in Rwanda and Burundi through projects like Twins Capabilities Project and a project funded by Polis Center in the DRC, in Congo. So that's a bit about me. So on to our topic for today. Why would we want to focus on efficiency in coffee production? Well, for me, the answer is this is how we can pay farmers more. As Drew just mentioned, in a market where prices are, we're feeling like price takers as producers, there are things we control, and if we control them well, we might be able to pay ourselves more. Lean is also going to, my belief is that lean is going to transform the coffee supply chain over the next 10 years. So good for you, because you're getting kind of an inside scoop early on about what this thing is. So let's make sure you've got a definition One of my objectives is that by the time you're leaving this seminar today, you'll feel like if somebody asks you, well, what is lean? You'll be able to answer that question. So lean is an adjective meaning fit and healthy. So it's not an acronym. Some people feel like, well, is it LEA means something? And no, it's the English adjective that means fit. Like the Rwanda cycling team. You see in the lower corner my image of Team Rwanda biking up a hill. These guys are lean. There is not an ounce of fat on those bodies. Every movement, every muscle is finely tuned to win the race. And if you know how cycling competitions work, you know it's about the cycling team working together. It's not an individual sport. By working together, those cyclists are helping each other get over every hill. So first definition of lean you want to capture is it's like a fit athlete. So everybody think about your favorite athlete and maybe even type into the chat box what athlete or team represents for you the epitome of a great athlete. Maybe it's a football player or a swimmer or somebody. So Jeff, can you share with us any other athletes that people might be mentioning?
Yeah, nothing so far. I'm on the lookout.
There must be at least one Liverpool fan out there. That's what I thought we might see. All right, well, I'm going to continue, but before I move the slide, Jeff, I'll see if there's any comments on this.
All right.
So the first thing is lean means fit and healthy. But next level down, this text is really the core of what lean is. It's achieving customer satisfaction through the most efficient use of time, machines, operators, so the most efficient use of resources. And it's the relentless pursuit of elimination of waste. So two things, we're efficiently using all our resources, but the thing that really distinguishes lean from maybe other operations theories is this continual focus on eliminating waste. So the next thing after fit and healthy, if someone asks you, well, what is lean? You should say, it's about eliminating waste. Any athletes that we can also keep in mind besides Team Rwanda, Jeff? Anybody else?
There have been no submissions yet.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you could get Jeff talking about hockey, and then you might find something.
Oh, Jeff, do you have a hockey player that's a really prime example of a wonderful athlete?
I'm going to go with, his name is Tuukka Rask, who is one of my favorite goalies. He's from Finland. So. Okay.
And so this is ice hockey, I'm taking it.
Correct, yes.
For those who might not be certain. And is he like someone who is in his fit and in his prime in terms of fitness and health?
Absolutely, yeah. He's very thin. He's probably 6'3" and extremely agile and very athletic.
All right. Well, so that athlete can be the image that Jeff thinks of when he's trying to remember what lean is about. Very good. All right. So here's the next concept that's very key to lean and efficiency in coffee production. Lean is about improving flow efficiency. And so it's flow efficiency instead of resource efficiency. The more traditional concept is resource. So the image here is helpful when I'm training near Lake Kivu in Rwanda, because you often see fishing boats on Lake Kivu that are powered by a team of 8 or 10 fishermen. They row together in a very synchronous rhythm, and they and so they're gliding along easily across miles, even when they're bone tired from fishing all night, because they have this synchronous rhythm that keeps them going. And in contrast, there's this other boat, the one on the right-hand side, which is doing what we call resource efficiency. Every person on that second boat is, I don't know if you can see my little arrow, is rowing as hard as they can. And this guy with the 3 paddles is the one who's stronger than the rest. So he's able to row 3 times faster than the other guys. But that's not helping the boat get where it needs to go. So in Lean, we're talking about this boat, which is an image of system efficiency. The entire boat is moving forward fast because they're in sync. And it's not about individual processes. So you're going to start to see a bit more of that. So now let's think about flow at a washing station. What constitutes stopping flow at a washing station? Of course, if it's going great, the coffee arrives, it's quickly weighed, it's immediately depulped. We're assuming fully washed processes. Fermentation is perfectly timed. Empty drying tables are awaiting that coffee. There's perfect drying conditions. And at the moment that coffee has the precise moisture content that the customer required, the coffee is zipped into bags and waiting in the warehouse for export processing. That would be our image of flow. But what really happens at washing stations? Here's a few things that I've seen. I've seen people waiting around for more cherry to arrive, and farmers waiting in line to have their cherry weighed. And then when it is their turn, they have to kind of weave through poles and steps and down steps and around tables. And then once the cherry is depulped, sometimes they have to wait for there to be space on the drying tables. And then there's unplanned things that are still normal, like mistakes that happen because people were working in the dark. Like here you see the guys working at the Coacaca washing station. Coacaca does a great job, I must say. But I happened to have the opportunity to work there, and I could imagine when I was visiting there, that some of these things are hard to do if you're in the dark. And then in other places, I've seen how there can be a lack of water or discs getting maladjusted. And then you have to wait for the replacement parts because they're hard to get. Does any of this sound like things that other people see at washing stations? Maybe you could type yes or no in the chat and let me know whether, and then maybe there's something else. I would love to have someone chat something else that they have seen that stops the flow of coffee moving smoothly through all the steps at a washing station. Can anyone share something there? Do we have any yeses or nos yet, Jeff?
Yes, someone mentioned that power cuts are unplanned.
Yes.
So loss of power at the stations.
Okay. How about worker injury or illness? Does that ever happen to anybody? That, oh gosh, suddenly the machinist can't show up tonight, so now we're delayed because we have to find the next person. Also, I wonder, has anyone ever had problems with processing because a truck breaks down? So the truck that was supposed to bring tons of cherry from XYZ Hill is not arriving as planned. Okay, so these are the types of things that we know happen and are stopping flow. So let's keep them in mind, not just as problems, but as things that stop flow. So what we try to do with Lean is make changes that keep that flow going. And what we found is that you can't just address a change like, okay, we have to make sure our trucks work, or we have to make sure the rain doesn't come. We have to create a culture of adapting and learning and changing. And we're helping the culture of our washing station become more like that synchronous rhythm of those fishermen on Lake Kivu. And it takes a long time. It can take usually at least takes 3 years. It takes a lot of training, unlearning old ways and learning new ways. It's like starting at the bottom of this staircase and then moving slowly up this staircase, learning lots of tools, learning some theory about how flow works. And so what we're trying to do with Lean is bring our entire organization up this staircase to world-class performance as an organization. And one thing we'll focus on in this presentation is just one of the tools, a very important tool called Kaizen events. Kaizen events are improvement projects. So so at Copacabana, you're going to see they've moved through many of these steps. They have many more to go before they get to world class, though. I'm not going to, nobody's going to get that designation. Even though I've been working with them for 4 or 5 years now, they're not there yet. But let's take a look at what is happening at Copacabana, because they're really at the leading edge of applying Lean in coffee. So we're going to get to see how the training worked at Copacabana, and so you can get a better idea of the benefits and results that high efficiency can bring to farmers, producer organizations, and the entire coffee industry. We kicked off at Copacabana with leadership training for 2 days, and then supervisor training for another 2 days. And these trainings were highly interactive. I was the trainer with a Kinyarwanda translator, and what we did is make sure that we were using lots of games and simulations and small group discussions, because with those kinds of learning techniques, the learning is happening through interaction with other participants, not a lot of listening to lectures. And as I mentioned, a key tool that we introduce in these trainings are Kaizen events, or improvement projects. So Kaizen is a Japanese word. Here on the left, you see the Japanese calligraphy. And the dictionary translation is improvement. But in the context of Lean, the word Kaizen takes on a lot more meaning. So I've tried to give you 4 bullet points here that crystallize for you what I mean when I'm talking about a Kaizen project. First of all, a Kaizen event means the team who's making the improvement has to go to the actual place. If we're going to improve things in the grading channels, then people are going to have to be at the grading channels. Kaizen is not something you can do sitting in an office looking at a computer. Second thing, Kaizen is something that has to happen with passion. The people who are working on Kaizen have to be totally engaged and interested in making a solution for that problem. So much so that they are willing to take action, because Kaizen is action. If a project is making recommendations or writing a report, it's not Kaizen. Those things are not action. Kaizen means you've changed something. So third point, there has to be evidence of that change. There has to be a metric that shows that here's what the metric was before the Kaizen, and here's what the metric is after the Kaizen. So let's say the Kaizen is moving a chair from left side to the right side. It's not a Kaizen until you can report how many meters you moved that chair. Now you might be getting closer to a Kaizen. And finally, and importantly, a Kaizen uses a lot of personal energy, but not a lot of cash dollars. It's not about buying expensive machinery or the latest expensive technology or having a big budget. It's really improving processes, usually through a lot of people's time being invested in thinking about how to do things better. So there's a certain cost to those people's time, but it's not about having a big cash budget. All right, so let's look at some examples. I think these are, this is the list of the Kaizen projects that Copacabana used. And these are basically the things that they decided to do to help keep the flow going. Remember how we looked at those pictures of things that stop the flow? These are the things that Copacabana decided to address to try to help the flow get going again. In the machine area, the team decided to, in year 1, improve safety. In year 2, they created and implemented some quality metrics for that machine area. We had a second team of workers from the reception area. And in the first year, they decided to make signs that would improve communication to the farmers. And so you can see more about, okay, they came up with creative ideas of how they could address the blockages. And one way to envision this using lean tools was brought to Copacabana in year 3. I saw Copacabana in year 3 start moving into a phase of really understanding something called the whole value stream map. So this map, I realize it's too tiny to see, but on the left side is kind of where the flow of coffee starts, and these arrows are showing the coffee moving from left to right. And here's where the coffee is harvested, and over on the right side is where coffee is moving into export to the buyer. And this kind of map of how coffee moves allows the organization to identify the best places to do a Kaizen project. And these are the 3 places that we saw on the previous slide. But now that Copacabana is in year 3, they had learned quite a bit about how some places in this value stream really leverage the ability to lower costs and increase quality at the same time. And so they decided to focus on this spot, the quality of incoming cherry. So now I'm going to walk you through how Copacabana was doing this particular Kaizen. It was in August 2018 when I was able to be there, when this leadership team made this really momentous decision. I was floored because I thought maybe we could get them to find something to do, and they kind of went way past what I thought they were going to be able to do. They decided to add a new step to their reception process called cherry floating. Now, for many of you on this call, you're going to be like, wait a minute, if you're in Guatemala or Nicaragua, I can imagine floating the cherry that a farmer brings in from the field is something you've been doing for decades. But in Rwanda's industry, it was hardly done at all in 2018. So this is post-season 2018. These guys decided that they would start requiring farmers to float their cherry before they pay the farmer. And they were going to do it at all 60 of their collection sites. So this was a pretty momentous decision. The reason was quality and cost. They knew that they could lower costs of sorting. They were going to save on all the labor costs required to sort coffee after they purchase it. And they were pretty sure that at the same time they could increase the quantity of A1, their highest quality, and they could increase their cup scores, which might help them increase the price for their average price of coffee sold. So by the way, I've noted here that along with deciding to do cherry floating, they decided they would pay two prices to farmers, whereas previously only one price was offered. You know, the lower price for the floaters and the higher price for the sinkers. So fast forward to February. Now we're in the middle of the season in the next year. And here's a little bit of how floating looks in year one of cherry floating. The farmer has to sort cherry, then they float the cherry in water, the collector weighs it, and there are two books for recording the price, the weight of what the farmer brought. So the implementation of floating had just gotten started when we did the Kaizen. And now what I'd like to do is bring you into the room where this team of agronomists, there's about 5 or 6 agronomists at Copacabana, we're going through the steps of Kaizen to try to make sure that this step was really effectively implemented. They had made this kind of value stream map illustrating the steps. They had come up with a metric. You see this metric on the right. And here's, now we're going to switch to a video so you can see some of the discussion that happens. The video is going to happen in Kenya, Rwanda. So I just want you to be patient. It's only 25 seconds of Kenya, Rwanda. And when we come back after the video, I will tell you exactly what they're talking about. So let's see if we can do a little bit of switching around here. Bear with me. We have to include this. And we have to... here we go. Are you seeing a YouTube screen, Drew? I think you might be.
Yep, you can see it.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Let's play this. Okay, so I think you can see, hold on, I'm going to share again. Oh, wait. Sorry. Silly thing. Remember to close it. Right. All right, just bear with me one more second while I get us back together. I think I need this. So I don't think you're seeing my PowerPoint slide right now, are you?
Not right now. I was seeing your view, but not the. There we go. Now it's back.
Okay, sorry about that.
So one thing, Ruth Ann, I don't know how it was for others, but there was a lot of buffering in the video. So you might just also give us a quick summary of the main idea.
Yeah, the main idea there is the agronomist that was animated and speaking is one agronomist had said, well, one of the problems that's going to happen when we try to implement floating is that farmers will be frustrated because they have to wait longer and then Justin jumped in and said, well, but there's another problem. Sometimes the farmer is going to have to be sorting on her cherry on the sheet while the collector is weighing her coffee in a different place, and she can't observe him. And so if she doesn't trust him to weigh her coffee carefully, she's going to be really distressed about the fact that she can't be in two places at one time. And so, he was bringing up this trust issue. And what I love about that is it's showing how you need these people who are the frontline workers to think about any new step that you're implementing, because they're the ones who are there every day and understanding how things really work. Like even better might be if there was a farmer in this group discussing how best to implement this new step that's going to affect farmers. And when you have that, you're better able to troubleshoot things ahead of time. So let me go forward we're jumping ahead 5 months now. It's post-season, and they didn't get the results that they had hoped to. They did get, many positive things, but one thing that didn't work well was the quality uptick didn't seem to happen. So we had a root cause analysis. This is another lean tool, thinking about what are all the things that affect the quality of picking. And they came up with this list of things like, well, it's maybe the farmer, well, they're the agronomist, they know that it's motivation. Farmers aren't motivated to do careful picking when they're not getting paid money, when the money is not enough. And then there's other things like inexperienced workers that are discussed. And so, this is an example of how Copacabana tried something, they came back and they reviewed what could be improved. So one thing they did improve, because they focus on the things that they can control, and they noticed that their metric of time per kilogram of good cherry could be improved if the actual floating step could be done faster. So while I was there last July, we did a Kaizen where they were testing different methods of actually pulling the cherry out of the water. And the little sieve that you see in the middle, that tool, is what they came up with as the best tool. It's a jerry can cut in half with holes punched in it so that the collector can easily scoop the cherries out of a bucket of water quicker than they were doing before. So they had improved the flow efficiency. So that's my glimpse of how things are, how Kaizens are done, a first glimpse. Drew, how are we doing on time? Because if there's time for a 1.5-minute video, I would take us to Nairobi, where there's a very nicely done video showing how lean looked after it was implemented at a honey factory, just as kind of a very well-produced video that gives a nice insight. Although I don't know about the buffering. If the buffering might be an issue, maybe we want to skip this. What do you think?
Well, I think we can give it a try. Make sure if you switch to it that you click the button for the sound too, because we want to make sure that everyone can hear the sound.
Sure. I'm going to see if I can do this correctly. Sharing. Click the sound. Are we on this? I don't think we're on what I want this to be on yet. All right. Oh, are we seeing a
Yes.
YouTube video? All right. I'm going to take this back to the beginning. So this is 3 minutes long, but I'm only going to play the first minute and a half. And go ahead and stop me, Drew, if the sound is not good, because otherwise it won't be too helpful. Here. Is it going okay, Drew?
I am not hearing it.
You cannot hear the audio when I play the video?
No, not right now.
Well, were you hearing it before? I stopped it just briefly.
No, I have not heard it.
You have not heard any audio?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe we'll skip the rest of it then. This guy, well, maybe I can narrate a bit of it. So what they're saying is this honey factory in Nairobi, Kenya, implemented lean. And it was very successful. The CEO talks about how they were able to achieve higher productivity with the same resources. And then they interviewed this. They show how before lean, it was taking a long time to fill the honey jars. But then they created this little gizmo, a bucket with a gauge that allows them to fill the honey jars very quickly while the jar is being weighed. And then this man talks about how the workers are really happy with this. They have production data that they can monitor themselves because now they have metrics that they're posting, I think, on these boards that you see in the back. And the orders are getting done much more quickly. Where it used to take 13 hours to fill an order, now it only takes 7 hours. And where it used to take, where they used to be able to pack, now they can pack 10 boxes in an hour, where it used to take, they used to only be able to pack 7 boxes in an hour. All right, so that, now I'm going to switch us back to this slide. Are you able to see this? I'm sure we're seeing this. It doesn't have the red box. All right, let me open share tray and show. Okay, I think we're back on some slides.
Looks good.
So now what I'd like to do is give you some summary data. It's not, I would say, even for myself, this data isn't the greatest and most convincing, but it is what we have so far, and related to coffee. So the first efforts in Lean were part of a larger project called Export Capabilities Project. And these are some of the results of the larger project. Things like 11% increase in price to farmers, 21 new certifications obtained by the producer organizations. In Burundi, they increased the percent of coffee sold at a price above a certain New York C threshold significantly, and same in Rwanda. And total exports were up 12% on that project. A data point I focus on, as a third-party external person, I have very limited access to the actual data of Copacabana, but I do keep track of the cherry prices. And in this slide, you can see that the cherry price that Copacabana has achieved has not constantly gone up. It's heavily influenced by the national price. That's why I show the national price in the middle. But interestingly, and I could not have predicted this, I think the bigger impact of their Kaizen, of implementing floating, is that they're offering more than one price. In their past history, farmers were always only offered one price. But now for cherry, they can, in 19, they had a choice of two prices, and in 2020, we've even expanded to where they're offering the farmers 3 different prices. So now there's differentiation and recognition with price that not all cherry is the same. There's low quality, middle quality, and high quality. So finally, and these are the last few slides, we have, in their own words, when I asked some Copacabana staff to share what are the main benefits of Lean for the cooperative, here's some quotes. Lean helps because it makes metrics and other things visual. We put up signs, like you see the one here. They put signs near the machine area. Take care, this is a low ceiling. We put up signs because of Lean, and then we learned they were required for the Rainforest Alliance certification. So we already understood why this was important. Problem solving is a key benefit of this training. We learned that when you meet a problem, you need to make an immediate solution, not wait for someone else to solve it. Don't wait for the manager. And here you see Isa, who's the supervisor in the gradage area. And he used to be, just the guy who earned some money by pushing the coffee through the channels. But now he's the guy who led a team who figured out how to reduce the usage of water so that there's less breakdowns in the flow of processing at night because the reservoir stays full longer. He's saving the cooperative money. And finally, worker attitudes and feelings at work are a big area addressed by Lean. We can see that we're contributing to a better organization that will be able to pay us more in the future. And this is what workers like this nice team you see here at the dry mill are saying. And this is important to me because there's a lot of emphasis these days on helping workers in coffee be more validated and recognized for the work that they do. So that's where I'd like to end. I know this is just a glimpse, but I'd be really interested in any questions or comments that you have so that we can, talk about the things that are important to you.
Yes, thank you, Ruth Ann, for that presentation. I really appreciated it. I'm sure that everyone else did as well. And yeah, I'm curious, what have you learned, everyone, and what questions do you have? Do feel free to unmute yourself if you want to talk. It would be lovely to hear your voices if you have questions. But if you are feeling shy, you can also write in the comments in the chat section.
If there aren't any immediate questions, Drew, I would like to go back to that question from before, and maybe now someone would be willing to share something. Well, like I know somebody said about things that stop the flow. I wonder if people could share some more things that they know stop things from working well at their workplace. Maybe not everybody works at a washing station, but they work somewhere in coffee, and I bet they have some idea of the problems they run into as they try to get their product out the door to the customer.
Ruth, as you know, in many parts of the world, we have very hierarchical structures that are, the boss says something and everyone listens and obeys. Whereas what you're describing requires input from everyone, which obviously can be a detriment to getting feedback from people. But how have you seen, or what have you been able to do to sort of break that down, to really get the input from everyone at all aspects of the process?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Was it Dan? Is that Dan?
Yes, sorry, this is Dan in Burundi.
Hi, Dan. Yeah, so a key point that I appreciate your question, because I had hoped to share about how that really is the culture change. And you really only can keep moving up that staircase of getting towards world class as you're able to move your culture in your organization to be less hierarchical. And so as you just said, and so what we start with is leadership. It's not coincidental that we started with 2 days of leadership training for the top leaders of the Copacabana organization, board members, executives who are paid staff, to start teaching them about why delegation is important and to instill values, at least begin to, that they want the people who report to them to be making changes without asking their permission. And that's a good thing. If they can get the people who work for them to make changes without first asking. And so we practice it. That's like where we do all these simulations where we show that, wow, this team just kept moving forward with their changes, whereas this team couldn't. Or, and then another key point is the lean champion. When we're doing these trainings, the leadership training and the supervisor training, myself as the instructor and the CEO of the organization are observing all of the participants to try to select the best person to be the organization's lean champion. Because I'm going to go away as the instructor, and they're going to need somebody there who really has internalized what lean and Kaizen is about. And in Copacabana, I have to say they had a great individual. I was going to try to pick him out of this picture. It's Gervais Kayatara, but I think he's not in the team picture. No, he's not there. So, and then in another organization that I worked in, unfortunately, they really did not choose the right person. They chose someone who was very entrenched in hierarchical thinking, and that group is no longer doing lean. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
So Ruth Ann, I'm curious. We've focused in this presentation on washing station or sort of the pulping and fermentation process, but we have some people on the call who work more with natural coffees or maybe work in a dry mill. And can you speak to how lean could apply to other parts of the chain or other operations within coffee processing?
Sure, absolutely. So lean can be applied to any operation. That's the first thing. You know, it started in automotive manufacturing plants 70 years ago, actually. Toyota Production Systems is the epitome of world class. So if you're wondering where the example is of the epitome of world class implementation of lean, it's Toyota in any of their plants. So other people have tried to imitate what Toyota does in healthcare and now in agriculture and farms all over the world producing all sorts of different crops. It's very new in agriculture, I should say. It's been at work for 70 years in manufacturing. So it is a concept that can be applied anywhere. And if it was natural processing, you would start with having a team who understands natural, who is working on producing natural coffee every day. You would have those frontline workers work together to make a map of all of the steps in their process and then start discussing how they could improve those steps. You know, make the process shorter by making some change. For dry mill, I have a nice, neat example. I've already done some lean training with Copacabana with their dry mill staff because they really had scheduling problems. They had, in their first year of their dry mill, they had to shut down for 3 or 4 days because they needed so much space for sorting. So I brought some scheduling tools. Lean has some very effective, tried and true tools for scheduling production processes, very much like a dry mill. It's actually, a dry mill is probably more ideal for lean than a washing station or a farm. Does that give some idea, or do you want more specifics?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Well, we are past the hour. Are there any final questions? Any burning questions that anyone has at the moment before we say farewell?
Maybe I should stop sharing. There we go. I would like to ask.
I would like to thank you. It was.
Go ahead.
It will be very useful at my milling plant, and we'll try to apply this, and also this way to put things in more visual way, and to have metrics to solve problem and to made it more transparent and communicate to people. And thank you. I'm motivated to do something different.
Awesome.
It was very nice. Thank you, Ruth.
Maybe people could give a show of hands if they feel like they might be able to answer the question, what is lean? Can people raise their hand if you have some idea what is lean? Great.
Okay, well, the conversation will continue. If you think of any questions after the fact, you can email and we can continue the conversation. I want us all to give a big thank you to Ruth Ann. Thank you for putting this presentation together, for bringing your expertise to this conversation. Atlas is very grateful, and I know everyone who's gathered here together is grateful. To all of the rest of you, thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up today. We hope that this was useful to you. I know we're all over the world, so some of you it's the middle of the night or the evening, and we appreciate your time. We hope that this was beneficial and that you're excited about more events like this. And upcoming next week at the same time, we are having Dr. Mario Fernandez, who works as Technical Director of the SCA. Formerly, he was with the Coffee Quality Institute in a similar capacity. And he is going to be talking to us about flavor formation through high quality natural and honey processed coffee. So I'm excited about that as well. Same time, same place. Now we've done this once, so I think it'll be similar, and maybe we will look at the Kaizen and improve our processes in these online seminars as well. So thank you very much. Good to see all of your faces this morning, and hopefully we'll see you next week at the same time.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.